Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. My name is Brandon Thomason, and I'm the marketing manager here at revVana. And I'll be operating as the moderator for the webinar today. So I'll be helping to facilitate some of your questions for our two speakers near the end of our presentation. So while we wait a few more minutes for some more people to join in, I kind of want to open it up here where everybody's dialing in from. And if you're open to sharing, I'd love to hear your background with Salesforce, whether you're a customer of Salesforce, whether you work directly with Salesforce, or if you're just interested in the topic of Data Cloud. Would love to hear that. I'm currently dialing in from Vancouver Island, and the sun is finally poking out. It's been a bit gloomy the past week or so it's always good to see that. And while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and introduce our two speakers for today. We have Kash Ruparel, who is our Chief Product and Technology Officer here at revVana and one of the founders as well. And we also have Greg Lewis, who is the president and one of the founders as well. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing good. Talking about the sun, I'm in San Francisco and the same situation. It was a bit gloomy, but I see sun now, so it's all good.
And I am based in Chicago. We had 95 degrees and humid 2 days ago, and it's now in the low 70s. So,
broad range.
Chicago.
Cool. So I'll go ahead and kick it over to you, Greg. You can give a quick little introduction to yourself and then dive right into our presentation.
Awesome. So I'm, like I said, Greg Lewis with revVana. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem since 2009. Before that, I was in the Oracle and Microsoft ecosystems, and most of my career has been spent in forecasting revenue, data analytics, CRM, Salesforce, and large enterprise systems. So happy to be with you all here today. What we're going to discuss today, we're obviously discussing revVana's new native connection to Salesforce Data Cloud. There's a huge variety of things, exciting things we're going to be broadcasting at Dreamforce and on about our use of Bring Your Own AI with Data Cloud and revVana. Today, we're going to talk about direct connections of revVana, which runs on the Salesforce platform, AppExchange product, connecting to Data Cloud to interpret revenue patterns to help with forecasting. We are going to talk about streamlining and automating forecasting processes, generating better, more accurate forecasts, and more importantly, deriving insights out of that data. Let's talk a little bit about the current technology landscape as it pertains to forecasting. There's the pipeline side of the things, where there's a variety of pipeline AI forecasting tools. There's exciting announcements at Dreamforce with what Salesforce is doing in this area. Tools like Clary, so on and so forth. There's also the extension of contract management, order management, and a lot of functions that used to be back office. Now with Salesforce, RLM, Revenue Lifecycle Management, are pushing down into the CRM world as well. So you have that on the left side of the screen. And on the right side of the screen, we have our ERP applications. They continue to improve, do a lot of great things. And we have the world of FP&A and corporate performance management, which obviously is always involved in forecasting. However, the one thing that we have found is in the middle sits spreadsheets. And spreadsheets are always going to be part of our business. But at revVana, we don't believe in spreadsheets as being the primary and only mechanism to transmit information, spreadsheets and email, from CRM, the sales side of the world, to operations and finance and the rest of the enterprise. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's talk a little bit about revenue forecasting today and the role of RevOps. I feel like sales ops and RevOps 4 years ago was about sales enablement, really the same thing that it was about for quite some time. Our customers, we see RevOps and sales ops obviously focused on CRM and sales enablement and helping sales teams sell. But we also see RevOps and sales ops as a very crucial part of the enterprise, reporting out to the rest of the organizations in the enterprise, demand planning for new business, top line revenue growth for finance to feed into their FP&A processes. But the one thing that's true is not all revenue comes from a book deal. There's a lot of revenue out there on account at customers, which we deal with. from non-opportunity and opportunity-related channels. And then more importantly, even with opportunity forecasting, there's the ongoing flow of business that comes from that most organizations today are still doing quite a bit in spreadsheets. So if we look at the typical workflow of what happens, spreadsheets tie together a feedback loop that can be pretty confusing for customers. There is obviously the capturing of actual performance from ERP, usually floats back down to selling teams to see how their accounts are doing in spreadsheets. And then the communication of forecasts going from the sales teams is spreadsheets. And why is this a problem? Spreadsheets aren't scalable. We're often replacing customers with anywhere from 500 to 5,000 spreadsheets floating around through the enterprise. There's obviously compliance issues with spreadsheets, but at the end of the day, collaboration and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what we see with spreadsheet-based forecasting between sales and the rest of the enterprise is we see cycle times on turning around forecasts that are based on pipeline and based on activity in Salesforce as long as a month. So organizations are literally capturing their pipeline on month number one, day number one of the month, working on the revenue forecasts that are going to flow from that pipeline, and then extending that in crucial meetings such as board meetings for the overall company, in senior sales and finance planning meetings with 30-day-old stale data. Not good for anybody, and obviously has an impact on many of the functions in a business. So with that, brief introduction on revVana Plan. We're an App Exchange product, 100% built native on the Salesforce platform. We automate the creation and maintenance of forecast data out of Salesforce. So what does this mean? It means that some of our customers with thousands of opportunities or CPQ and all this activity happening in Salesforce, we keep the ongoing downstream revenue forecast that's really the final output of sales up to date in real time. That allows our customers to immediately pull forecast data at any point on a rolling real-time basis, rather than doing this as a batch exercise manually once a month. And some customers we had talked to once a quarter. And then we obviously provide a platform to capture and collaborate with the sales teams in real time within our application, and provide feedback on run rate, provide feedback if a customer is having delays and these types of things. So we've got automation of data, we've got the synchronization of data, all Salesforce platform events behind the scenes, and the interaction and collaboration of the sales team, which at the end of the day is crucial to let organizations adapt to their forecasts, adapt to changes in their customers, respond, and overall drive their top line revenue. Let's talk a little bit about industry models. This is a sampling of some of the industries we work with at revVana, our customer base. More importantly, look at the types of revenue forecasts and forecasts that stem from Salesforce data. We all know about pipeline, but there's the ongoing revenue from pipeline. There's account-based forecasts from things like sales agreements in Salesforce. A lot of our customers have contractual terms and order terms stored in Salesforce as well. Crucial information to expand revenue, demand, and other forecasts. And this is seen across SaaS and data services, even more so now with the rise of usage-based pricing. And consumption forecasting is a challenge for a lot of customers that we work with, managing that backlog. Manufacturing has always had variability. When a manufacturer in a B2B environment wins the right to provide a product via purchasing cycle to one of their customers, the actual amount that's ordered may vary over time. And same thing with life sciences and med device. This affects pricing agreements. This affects a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, it affects the top line revenue of the company. So a real challenge. And then obviously in business services, professional services, data services, companies that are providing, things like background checks or data to their customers, in professional services, the need to manage the flow of that revenue from a sales perspective after the close is very important. And then we've been doing quite a bit now also in media, managing impressions from both programmatic and traditional advertising, and how deals in their pipeline and deals across their customer base will influence the revenue that advertisers and ad tech companies are seeing. So here's what Akash is going to go into. My time's up right now here on the intro. This is what we kind of call the Taj Mahal of revenue forecasting. A revenue forecast that shows where your pipeline is going to close is great as a selling tool. At our customers, we like to implement what we call full stack revenue forecasts. And that means forecasts that you can not only forecast the revenue out of your opportunities, but you can layer this on top of existing account level forecasts and orders coming in from different sources. And more importantly, compare that to actuals on a real-time basis. We open up demand forecasting. We've got customers using SAP, large, very sophisticated demand systems with demand planning capabilities. There's one thing those demand planning applications don't know. Those demand planning applications don't know what's happening in Salesforce. By giving demand curves ahead of time, new business that's coming, we've opened up demand planning abilities from a last minute exercise when contracts are closing to 90, even 180-day visibility ongoing for those demand teams. And more importantly, we help customers answer the question on what changes in their forecasts. We're excited to announce our Data Cloud connectivity. We feel Data Cloud is a great location, Salesforce Data Cloud, to store high volume customer actuals. And I'm going to turn it over to Akash Ruparel, our CTO and another founder with the organization, to talk about how we're doing this. So Akash, it's all yours.
Hello, everyone. So as Greg said, I currently run product and technology at revVana, and in my previous life, I was a product manager of the charting library at CRM Analytics, and also part of go-to-market team at Salesforce. And forecasting is near and dear to me, and that's one of the reasons why we started this company, was because we perceived a gap between sales and finance, and that's what we are trying to bridge. One of the challenges we have always faced is, for effective forecasting, you do want to look at historical data. And it's been challenging to bring that kind of volume of your daily invoices or orders into Salesforce. And this is where Salesforce Data Cloud is going to be really amazing. This is their official foray into bring any data into Salesforce and derive intelligence from it. So it's their native data lake house with a vector database. So you could bring in any kind of information, any kind of structured and non-structured data in the Salesforce ecosystem. Infinitely scalable, huge amount of processing capabilities. So this is going to be the platform where you could do all sorts of data preparation and manipulation before you train your models, as well as the native models that they are going to support, or bring your own models. Amazing platform for feeding data for real-time analytics. And the biggest thing is it's all secure. So we are very excited about leveraging Salesforce Data Cloud. The biggest thing that we are focused on is, of course, revenue data, but you can load any kind of data on the Data Cloud platform. But what we are going to focus on is the historical revenue, because that's where a lot of your future forecasting signals are buried. So once you have access to that data and you can incorporate that in your forecasting processes, not only are you going to improve accuracy, but you're going to also get actionable insights from that, and in the end help make better decision, be it in terms of growth planning to making sure that you don't leak revenue on the commitments and the contracts that your customers have already given. So that's what we're going to focus on this particular webinar, but know that you could do a whole lot with Data Cloud. So revVana as a platform allows you to define forecasting workflow in a more configurable fashion, so you don't have to build custom codes and custom processes. We have a framework that includes an object model that can accommodate various shapes and sizes of time series data with various dimensionality. But we also have an automation layer that can reduce the burden on your teams when it comes to getting your forecast started. So I'm going to go into a few of those elements, but know that this is a common pattern that we see. at our customers, but it is all configurable. So what you're going to see today is I'm going to focus on one use case that a few of our customers use is a book of business plan, which is basically for a given rep or a team, a list of accounts that they manage and what their actuals look like, what their opportunity forecasts look like, what their booking forecasts look like, and then also on top of that, allow them to enter their overrides on top of it. So we're going to look into that. But the other thing we're going to look into is how we can leverage your granular actual data that is stored in Data Cloud to extract patterns. Now, this is just an example of some of the metrics that we can extract from your data. Example, you can extract seasonality, you can extract consumption and usage patterns, growth factors, RAM, or you can plug in your own model. If you have your own team running, generating these patterns, you can plug that in revVana. But what we can do with those patterns then is we can then generate your pipeline revenue schedules for your new business. Now, this is important in a lot of modern businesses. The biggest variability in their forecast comes from new business. Unless your business is a very standardized SaaS model, new business is where your whether you're going to make your quota or commitments is going to be derived based on how much you close. So that's where we feel that staying close to Salesforce, where the new business information is fairly critical. And then if you can automatically generate those forecasts, considering the patterns that you have learned from your historical data, your forecast is going to be that much more accurate. So this is where we're going to see some demos around as well. I'll come back to this slide in a bit, but going one level deep, how we leverage Data Cloud is we take the historical actuals, we run some processing on it, and at the end of it, we generate what we call a plan. So plan is a standardized structure where you could have plan lines, and then you have a schedule. The schedule could be a monthly schedule, quarterly, annual, weekly, or even daily if your business requires that kind of granularity. And you can forecast any metrics. So right now we are focusing on revenue, but it could be units for demand planning, or it could be some other kind of metrics like margin or growth factors or whatever you want to forecast. So it nicely fits in a standardized data model. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the actuals, extract seasonality out of it, then apply that to new business forecast. But in the end, we are going to generate a book of business forecasts, and all of that will live in the same object model. So this is the pattern extraction part. So once we extract the pattern, we are going to then feed it into another component where we leverage this pattern, apply to the new business that lives in the opportunities, and generate a specific forecast, revenue forecast for each of your opportunity. And this is just an example. It could be we could generate forecasts off of your codes or your orders. Any object in Salesforce, we can latch onto it, and in real time, using the rules, using the criteria to qualify a particular record, we can generate a forecast. So this is the other part of the puzzle, where if you automate this process, your sales teams get a ready-made starting forecast. Then, if needed, they can override. But the other benefit of doing this at the bottom level is that you can roll it up to any level, as you will see in the demo that follows. So with that said, I'm going to jump into the demo, and let's go there. So this is an org. If you haven't seen Data Cloud, I mean, I'm going to show you some screens where we have already loaded the actual revenue, but this is what something it looks like. You create your data lake objects and models, and then load data in either from sales objects or external systems. They have a huge plethora of connectors, which allow you to establish data streams to bring the data in. But for the purpose of this demo, we are just looking at actual revenue. And again, your actual revenue can be at any granularity. Right now, what you are looking at is account level revenue for whatever 3-4 years that you see. But this is how it's going to be loaded in Data Cloud, and we're going to leverage this and convert it into something that a lot of you must be familiar with, is a book of business plan. Um, this is the output that we are after. What you are looking at is, for a particular sales individual, all their accounts listed on a screen. And if you focus on the measures that you see, so you see the actual amount. This is the summarized version of the data that was loaded in Data Cloud, that's available here by account. But in addition to that, you can see rows that indicate pipeline revenue, which is your open pipeline, and booked revenue. And then you have an estimate revenue, which is an editable number that your reps can modify. But one thing about this pipeline and booked revenue, these are basically rolled up from the revVana plans that are generated at the opportunity level. So the benefit of, as I said, like generating these numbers and then doing it at the bottom level and then rolling it up kind of gives you a lot of flexibility in how you manage and run your business. So that's why you see the booked forecast is for closed opportunity, and these are not just the close amounts. And this is important because if an opportunity that closed in January this year, but it was a 3-year long contract, you don't want to recognize that entire amount in January because a lot can happen in 3 years. So revVana can take that number and create a realistic schedule. And I'll get into why there is variability in this number. You will see in the next few slides. But basically, doing this at the bottom level allows us to account for a lot of that variability. And once it's rolled up, your team can then work on that aggregate number and make their call. So you see booking for historical pipeline is the open number, and you can see it here in the month of September, where the rep can then go in and kind of give their call. Okay, we have so much opportunity open pipe, but we may not be able to close them, or it may be higher. So they can give that number here. So now, and then at the end of it, once you start loading actuals in the past, you can in live fashion look at how your realization is trending compared to what the estimated forecast was. So now, to get to this, there are 2 steps we took. And again, as I said, this is a configurable platform, so there could be more steps based on your business. But in this case, in order to generate this, first thing we do is we extract patterns from your actual revenue data in Data Cloud. And I'm not going to get into a lot of details, but basically you can use our tool to connect to any source, including Data Cloud, and get that actual revenue information from those data lake models, and then generate patterns out of it. And this is what it would look like. So this is basically a simple example where that process ran and it extracted patterns at the account level. This is a sample array of patterns you can extract. This is fully extendable. But if you notice here, what I'm doing here is I have extracted usage patterns based on like the average consumption from the past by account. You could derive seasonal indices and some other metrics. And again, you can bring your own model if needed. But the idea here is that you generate these patterns at a certain level. In this case, it's at account level. But oftentimes, you can't just apply one singular pattern to your entire business. There may be some segments of account, like enterprise, that have recurring patterns, in which case you can go granular, look at the patterns by account and product. But then there might be SMBs that don't buy or don't use your product at a regular frequency, in which case the granular pattern may not be that useful. But if you up level it and generate patterns at product family level or segment level or region level, then maybe those patterns could be applied. Same thing with, let's say you are introducing a new product or it's a brand new account. You don't have any history for that account, but you can still leverage their profile, right? If it's an enterprise customer, maybe we use patterns extracted from the other enterprise customers and apply that. So Bottom line is we have a framework that allows us to bring in a bunch of different patterns, be it at a higher level or a very granular level that is specific for a given account and product. We then take these patterns and apply it to opportunities. So, for example, this opportunity has four products. Each of the products is of a different, follows a different revenue profile, be one time to generic SaaS subscription to consumption based model. Um, to keep it simple, right now we are looking at numbers that are entered over here, but these numbers themselves, the quantity can be derived from historical data based on that account's usage in the past. And you can say, okay, they have been using this product at X unit per year. We can start with that. Pricing, we can account for any tiered pricing or range pricing that you may be managing in CPQ or custom object that can be applied as well. But once we consider the information that's in this opportunity and the patterns that we extracted from actuals, what revVana can do is generate a bottoms up plan for each opportunity. And if you pay attention to the product family, you will see different mechanisms are applied to generate those revenue profile. And since consumption is the hot topic right now, because a lot of SaaS companies are moving to consumption-based selling, you could see that the input of average consumption, we spread it over a period of time and apply the historical usage by month, and then take that into account and do a revenue forecast. This would be different from other families like quarterly, which is once a quarter, either beginning of the quarter, end of the quarter. It's all configurable to one time to standardized SaaS revenue, which can take seasonality into account. So a lot of this are configurable and can be optionally wired in. But once you do this for all your opportunities, it allows us to then roll it up to this book of business level. And again, it doesn't have to be a combination of account. You could do it at an account by account level as well. But once you have that bottoms up information, you can now have a nice consolidated view where you are now tracking your historicals for measuring your accuracy for past forecasts, but as well as for the future, you are making better calls. And doing this from bottoms up is also going to allow us to do better analysis. So, for example, if you're looking at a particular account, you could easily look at all the opportunities that are rolling up into those numbers, open, close. You can look at other views of this. Like if you don't want to look at opportunity by opportunity, you can break it up by products. So all the products that are contributing to these numbers, here's your forecast. And we can do that because we have generated this at the bottom level. And then any flavor, any dimensionality that you have on product, account, or opportunity, you can now roll up those numbers by that dimensionality. So for now, what you're looking at is all the product families that this particular customer has purchased or is going to purchase or going to use, all of that rolled up by family. So you can imagine a lot of other dimensionality that you may have. All of this combined makes it a lot easier to do your forecasting, and it also improves the forecasting because now you are in a rigorous cycle of doing this on an ongoing basis versus, as Greg said, most companies do this as an event once a quarter, once a month, and spend days generating this versus this is an ongoing cycle. So once you have all of this, it it makes it easy to do a lot of other things in your system, right? You can let your reps edit, but you can also feed this granular information back into Data Cloud and do snapshotting over there, or in CRM analytics, or push it to other systems, your demand planning system or your financial systems, and build applications on top that allow you to monitor how you are tracking against your forecast at a much earlier time frame, which kind of allows you to stem leakage or take actions to basically sell more to that customer or improve their satisfaction of the product usage. So with that said, a few things, other things you could do. I mean, if you have CRM analytics, it just makes it easier to bring all of this together. And this is one of the things that Greg showed earlier, where we bring in all the revVana scenarios, which includes the historical actuals for the past period. If you have any targets or budgets, you can bring that in. But then you can, for future, you can look at your opportunity revenue forecasts, as well as if there are any non opportunity channels like run rate, business on account. All of that can be brought together for a better forecast planning. So I'll stop at this, and we can go to questions. Brandon.
Yeah, so we have one question from Dean Hughes, actually. And the question is the Salesforce Data Cloud a required component for the revVana app?
It isn't. So again, depending on your business model, you could just wire up revVana to monitor your opportunities and generate forecasts using standardized patterns like ramps or spread evenly. Data Cloud is exciting because it allows us to load actuals, which is typically at a large volume, and then utilize some of the signals that are in your historical actuals to use this. We also have a CRM analytics connector. So if your data is loaded in CRM analytics, we could leverage that. Otherwise, some of our customers just load those patterns from outside. So you could also do that. We have a nice base that can allow us to load summarized numbers from external systems. So in a roundabout way, Data Cloud is not a requirement for revVana, but it allows us to do more. But even without Data Cloud, we could just latch on to any Sales Cloud objects.
Perfect. And we have a few other questions just from prospects and customers we've gotten in the past few weeks as well, which kind of sparked a lot of the idea for this webinar too. And I'm sure everyone is thinking this as well. It's a big buzzword at the moment, but are we using AI to populate these forecasts?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So on this example that Kosh had, this is a programmatic configurable. No, we are not using AI to do this. However, we have some big announcements coming around Dreamforce, around revVana's Bring Your Own AI model that also works with Data Cloud's Bring Your Own AI model. And we will be doing another webinar, I believe it's in October, on Salesforce Bend, diving into that. So look forward to sharing more shortly.
Perfect. And I think we touched on this briefly, but what are some of the other use cases for revVana and Data Cloud beyond revenue realization that was shown today?
Yeah, I think the use cases we're seeing, there's different reasons why each one of our customers implement our product. We will see revenue realization, forecast accuracy. That's the overall goal, to drive better top line revenue growth, meeting those targets. But in the day, you say, how does this help my business? So my forecasts are more accurate. That's great. Well, if your forecasts are more accurate, you're going to have a longer lead time to see your organization's ability to meet targets. I can't tell you how many large companies we've seen over the last 10 years with publicly traded companies that find out they're not going to hit their targets at the very, very, very last minute. So that's really the key. But use cases like giving better operational finance visibility from pipeline, providing, eliminating spreadsheets. There's a wide variety of reasons, and it usually differs industry to industry.
Yeah, one more common theme is companies, like manufacturing companies, oftentimes have a process that goes on after the opportunity is closed, and there isn't a good mechanism to track that. So if you have a 3-year contract, but that manufacturer is going to take 6 months to ramp up their production. Once the opportunity is closed, a lot can go wrong. So if you just use opportunity as your measure of revenue, you're going to miss out on a lot of those signals. With revVana, we create that 3-year long schedule with those ramp patterns, and then people like account management can, or even demand planners can continuously update it. If there's going to be a delay in production, that's going to affect your revenue forecast. So you need a space to update that. So like those kind of use cases, like we can help.
Perfect. And we see this a lot as well, especially with some of those larger publicly traded companies Greg was discussing too. But they have new revenue data coming in every day in their billing systems. So how would Data Cloud and revVana really make sense of that constant stream of data?
Yeah, being in the business of implementing forecast solutions on our platform for customers, the first one's the obvious, is giving real-time visibility to that data. Most of the spreadsheet-based processes, granted, your books are only closed once a month, so if it's final revenue, that's always going to have a bit of a lag at organizations. But being able to see real-time order data that's coming in daily, leveraging Data Cloud and revVana just for the visibility there is key. In addition to a lot of these bigger topics that we're solving. So
Yeah, other place that we have seen, like oftentimes bigger companies, they have tons of opportunities, and the reps are busy selling. They don't want them spending time creating revenue forecasts. So oftentimes they would cut off any opportunity less than 100,000. Just don't even bother forecasting. Just put a lump sum number for all of them collectively. That, I mean, again, it ends up being a significant portion of the realized revenue. So with revVana, since the process is automated, you don't have to exclude any booked opportunities that are below a certain number. You can do it for all of them. In fact, you could do it for all the open opportunities as well. And based on the rules, it will generate a revenue profile, which then in your analytics layer, you can decide, okay, I don't want to look at revenue from opportunities that are too early in the cycle. You can just exclude that. But
the data is
with
there. The data is there.
data's there.
That's absolutely it.
Perfect. It looks like that's all of our questions at the moment. So if you guys have any more, get them in last minute as well. And then, yeah, do you guys have anything else to present?
I think we are good for today. Appreciate you setting this up for us, Brandon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you both for being here and presenting as well.